The train did not wait. It never does. It only slows long enough to pretend that goodbyes are possible. I remember the sound first. Steam releasing into the cold morning air. Metal grinding against metal. A whistle cutting through the fog like something final. I was 9 years old when my father stepped onto that train and did not look back. The station was small. Just one platform, worn wooden benches, and a clock that ticked louder than it should have. Dawn had barely broken. The sky was pale, undecided between night and morning. People stood close together but spoke quietly, as if raising their voices might make the departure more real. My father's hand rested on my shoulder. Heavy, warm, steady. He had packed lightly. A single bag, folded clothes, papers he did not show me. My mother stood beside us, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles had turned white. No one said the word war that morning, but it hung over the platform like the smoke from the engine. The train hissed again. A conductor called out something sharp and official. My father knelt in front of me. He did not cry. He did not smile either. "Be strong for your mother," he said. "Not I'll be back soon. Not this won't take long. Just that, be strong." I nodded because I thought that was what strength looked like. He stood up. The doors opened. Men climbed aboard one by one. Boots on metal steps. Bags lifted. Brief nods exchanged. My father stepped inside. For a second, he turned toward the window. I thought he would wave. He didn't. The whistle blew. The train lurched forward. At first, it moved so slowly that it felt like there was still time. Time to call out. Time to run beside it. Time to say something important. But no one moved. The wheels gathered rhythm. The platform began to slide past the windows. Steam thickened, and then the train was simply going. No dramatic gesture. No final shout. Just distant. I stood there long after the last carriage disappeared beyond the bend in the tracks. The station felt enormous once it was empty. My mother touched my shoulder lightly. "Let's go home," she said. Home felt different without him. His chair remained at the table. His boots remained by the door. His voice lingered in the corners of the rooms, as if it had not yet understood that it was no longer needed. The first letter arrived 3 weeks later. Short, careful, he wrote about the journey, about crowded compartments, about the countryside flashing past the windows. He said the train ride felt longer than it was. He did not mention fear. More trains passed through our station in the months that followed. Each one carried men away. Each one arrived already too full. I began to hate the sound of whistles. They no longer meant travel. They meant absence. Winter arrived early that year. The tracks froze over in the mornings. The station grew quieter. Fewer departures, fewer returns. Then the letters slowed. At first they came every few weeks. Then every few months. Then not at all. We continued to visit the station sometimes. Not because we expected him on a random train, but because standing there felt closer to him than staying home. I would watch the rails stretching into the distance and imagine that somewhere, far beyond what I could see, he was standing near a different set of tracks, thinking of us. One afternoon, a train arrived unexpectedly. It was not on the usual schedule. It moved slowly. Too slowly. The doors opened. Not many men stepped off. Those who did looked older than when they had left. Thinner, quieter. I searched every face. He was not among them. But something inside me shifted that day. I realized that trains did not only carry departures. They carried what was left of people. Months later, a letter came from someone else. Not from him. Official paper. Short sentences. Formal tone. It mentioned bravery. It mentioned sacrifice. It mentioned a doubt. It did not mention the train. But I remembered it. I remembered how he had stepped aboard without turning back. How the whistle had drowned out whatever words might have been left unsaid. My mother read the letter once, then folded it carefully. She did not cry in front of me. That night I lay awake listening for trains in the distance. When one finally passed, long after midnight, its sound felt hollow. The war eventually ended. The station repainted its benches. The clock kept ticking. New schedules were posted. Trains arrived filled with soldiers returning home. Crowds gathered again. Cheers replaced silence. But for us, the platform remained unfinished. There was always one train that had left without bringing anything back. Years later, I returned to that station alone. The paint had faded again. The benches had been replaced. The clock had been repaired more than once. I stood at the edge of the platform and looked down the tracks. They seemed smaller than I remembered. Less dramatic, just steel lines disappearing into ordinary distance. A train approached. Modern, cleaner, quieter. It slowed. It stopped. People stepped off laughing, carrying luggage, checking watches. I did not board. I did not wait for anyone. I simply stood there until it left again. Because I finally understood something. The train that mattered had already gone. And it had not said goodbye. Sometimes people imagine that the most painful part of loss is the moment of departure. But it isn't. It's the absence of a final word. The absence of a wave. The absence of certainty. The whistle that cuts through the air before you realize it is the last sound you will ever associate with someone. I was 9 years old when I learned that trains do not promise return. They only promise movement. The train did not wait. It never does. And some goodbyes are swallowed by steam before they are ever spoken.